Yamaha natural sound integrated amplifier A-S301. We're competing directly now with Onkyo 9010. This is as close as I could find as competition to that. I didn't want to look at a Sherwood. This is Onkyo versus Yamaha. These are the big boys fighting it out, touching peepees. Biggest difference, and if you go to the comments of my Onkyo 9010 review, it's like, fuck that, you gotta get the Yamaha. And I'm like, do I have to get the Yamaha? Yeah, but not this one. They wanted like a completely different range of Yamaha that had like Bluetooth in it. I'm like, no, I'm not touching that yet. Let's go with exactly the same feature set, just different brand. So, what is the 301 feature? It has A and B speaker outs, which the Onkyo only had one set. This has two, which you can select with this switch. We've got bass, treble, balance, loudness knob, which we're going to get to. Your input selector, which is digital, volume control, a remote control, and a headphone out. Very, very similar to the 9010, right? Okay, so where do we start? Because this has some shit that I'm like, and this is going to be in the yard sale, by the way. If you don't know, most of the stuff I buy on this channel comes from a Patreon, and my patrons, if you're supporting me, you get to buy the stuff that I'm done with because I can't fit anymore. Just can't fit anymore. So, whatever month this is released in, next month it'll be for sale. Power button, which is an analog button, which clicks out, which then removes the ability for the remote control to turn on and off. So you got to leave that on. When you actually shut it off with the remote, the power LED just goes to half brightness. It shuts off the input light because the input light has an indicator there. If you have pure direct on, that is an indicator. But it doesn't like change color or black out. It's literally like you have to just know that if that's basically your power indicator is not that. The power indicator is the input knob. Fine, 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 fine. You'll notice that I've fixed the not only the volume knob with blue tack, and that's a beautiful strip of a white colored blue tack, just poster board tack. I'll link it in the description. I had to fix this because it is the smallest little notch of nothingness, like that. Can you see that? Can anyone see that little notch? That little like, there's our volume indicator. No. I posted a picture of this beautiful creation that I've made onto the Z-Reviews Telegram link in the description. And the first thing someone did is take a picture of their 1993 Sony receiver. 93. 20 fucking 5 years ago. Is that correct? Whatever. Close enough. Old. And you know what the volume it had? It had a big black knob and a little red LED. It's just a little red LED that tells you where the volume is. It's just a little red LED that tells you where the volume is. And why can't we have that now? I had a Pioneer D1S in the same era that also had a volume control that rotated, you know, mechanically. Because this here is here. Ready? We'll get the remote out. Ooh, which might make it harder to put like an indicator on there that glows, but just put a fucking indicator. Because here's the thing, you can't see you can't see it if it doesn't have an indicator. It bothers the shit out of me. And these vertical adjustments for the bass, treble, balance, loudness also have just a little notch on top, and you think, well, that's fine, except when you do this, like right there. If I didn't have that piece of blue tack / white tack, you wouldn't know if the bass was pointing down or up. Which, by the way, here's another thing. Everyone loves the look of this, and if I took all this shit off it would be so clean and but then you go and do this, and it looks broken. So I'm not a fan of the big vertical knobs. It's very throwback. But as soon as you touch them, shit just looks broken. That doesn't look good. It has to be this way. It has to literally be perfectly vertical, or they're just ugly. Even if you went sideways on all of them, it would look like that, and that's okay too. Except now your balance is all the way to the right. So yeah, no, these are useless knobs. As far as an aesthetic change, you can't touch them. It'll ruin the looks. So This is a digital knob to change the inputs. And you get three, I'll get to the back of it, but it's line 1, 2, 3, optical, coaxial, CD tuner, and phono. And before I even get to the bitching about that, it's a digital knob. So it goes click, 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 click. We made it through all of them. I've had occurrences where I'm trying to go between optical and line, and it won't go the first click, and I have to go 2 clicks, and that just drives me fucking insane. See, that's nice. It's nice. It's perfect now. I'm okay with it. If it worked perfectly like this, I'd be okay with it perfectly. That's fine. That's why this doesn't need an indicator, because there's your indicator. It's a beautiful indicator. Look at that. Pick between the ones. Now, so it has line 1, 2, and 3. 3 RCA inputs in the back. That's not true. It has 5 normal RCA inputs in the back. Lines 1, 2, and 3, and then one that is labeled CD, and one that is labeled tuner. There's no tuner in this unit. It says tuner. The remote has tuner controls and CD controls, but I mean, they specifically make it so that you could pick it in CD and line. So it's for their whole family, their family of products, because everybody wants a Yamaha stack. Your pure direct button there, which negates all of these, everything here. If you put this on, no matter where you set the bass, bass all the way down, treble all the way up, balance mostly there. I'm not going to touch the loudness button. I said button because it's always a button. I'm not going to touch the loudness knob because I'm going to bitch about that for about 4 minutes. It's coming up. But if I put this up, I'll have to set it to either line or optical, because I'm comparing line 1 is my OL DAC there, and it's getting fed with fiber optic, and then optical is a split off of this. I just did 2 clicks. Optical is the actual optical coming off the same splitter, getting the same source, the same signal from my computer. So I can compare the 2 DACs, because one's using the DAC internal and one's using that DAC, which I trust. And I was doing that with both headphones and through these Bucard S200s. No, you can't buy them, sorry. Point is, pure direct is on, and everything sounds. And now there's no bass and all treble, and the balance is a lot to the left, is all the way to the left. So pure direct is where I'd probably run this, and it would just ignore these 4 adjustments. Anyway, cool feature. Let me get to a cool feature. I gotta do the good with the bad. I'm gonna bounce it back and forth. So here's your volume knob, right? You go up. Now on the Onkyo, when you muted it, it just muted. On this unit, when you mute it, it drops it down. It doesn't go all the way to the bottom, it just drops it down. So wherever you have it set, mute will just drop it down that far. And unmuting it brings it back up. Which I guess could be good. I mean, it's not a true mute function. It's nice. I love the fact that it's doing that. That's great. If you have it up real loud, though, and you hit mute, it's not going to off. It's just going to go to normal levels. So real loud. I mean, I don't want to get the Prague Philharmonic suing me. Paul Simon will sue me. Postmodern Jukebox will monetize this video. I don't know. The point is, if you have it up a little bit and you mute it, see that? It's a ratio. It's got to be a ratio because I only was up a little bit. If you mute it, it doesn't go all the way to the bottom. It could easily go to the bottom. It doesn't. It goes a little bit. If you go here, though. Right. I'm going to pause the music, turn it all the way up, and then mute it. How far down does it go? And then unmute it. So it's complete. That's a lot of math in there to determine what position you are at, and then give you probably, actually, if that's 100 and it goes to mute, it's going to go, that would be 50% volume. It goes a little past 50, goes to like 45%. So wherever you have it set to, now if I adjust it and then hit mute, then it knows to go again. And it goes, it probably takes, it doesn't take off quite 50% of the, I don't know. It's a fancy ass mute control. So just know that it's going to do that. It's never going to actually just stop playing music. The best way, if you wanted to actually do that, would be to come onto the remote phrasing, would be to pick an input you know has nothing in it. So if you're currently playing on the line 1 input, and this is playing. Oh, you see the blinking also? That means it's in the mute phase, and you can unmute it. That's as best as I could sing. So when you mute it, it A goes down and then blinks the input. So okay, mute functionality. Let's talk for a minute, about 3 minutes on the mute function of this device. So yeah, like I was saying, if you want to actually just mute, just change the input to something that doesn't have anything in it. And since you have 5 analog inputs plus a phono input, you're gonna have at least 3 inputs that don't have anything on it. So line 2, line 3, those are both basically mute. And then you go back to line 1. That's when you get real mute. So we have to half-ass our way around a real mute. But I do like the lowering function. I like the attenuation function. It's creative. The indicator, again, is just, all these are indicated. Pure direct off. Let's talk about actually listening to this. Gotta keep the music moving. Nice, Toonami. So bass. Now that subwoofer's on. I should probably mention the fact that I've got the Mackie MRS10 down there, and it's just a single RCA out into that. Hi, Chewbacca. You're interested in my finger? I know you are. What girl doesn't like to be fingered by Zeos? Oh, yeah. Anyway, so the Mackie MRS10 is down there. Now it's off. Just like the TX, which costs $400+, when you plug a subwoofer into the back of this unit, it doesn't cut off any frequencies to the left and right. That's useless. Because yeah, you want to add more bass, fine. If you have speakers that don't produce any bass at all, add a sub by all means. The issue is, when you have a subwoofer, you don't want the speakers you're trying to drive to also try to do bass. They've been trying to do bass their whole life. When you get an actual tunable, like the PS Audio Sprout 100, when you plugged the subwoofer into that, it went click, and then started playing without bass in the speakers, because it was going down to the sub. So that meant the speakers were free to not deal with it. Since this doesn't do that, that means the speakers are still dealing with low end, and the sub's playing, so you're going to get a lot of crossover. You're going to have to adjust that just right, and it's not going to give you any gains in volume. If I took away the low end in these speakers, I could push them probably 4 or 5 decibels louder. That's mainly the reason why you integrate a sub into it. So you'd be looking at... Why, hello. Those claws. The bass and treble, by the way, all these knobs, these 4 knobs that affect the speakers also affect the subwoofers. So if I put it up, a lot of bass there, turn this back on, just whomp. And if I do that, we just hear the whomp. So there you go. You're freaking me out, Chewbacca. You're gonna grab my testicles. If Chewbacca grabs my testicles live in this review, please go to my Patreon and support, because I'm going to need surgery. Although I did clip her nails. We have to talk about some shit. We have to talk about this AB plus bi-wiring switch. It bothers me. It's one of those things that bothers me. So it's got a headphone out, right? We're going to test a bunch of headphones, or I've tested a bunch of headphones. You plug in, and the speakers click off, like it should. But this AB speaker switch has an off function, and it's a nice, listen. Oh. Listen. Oh, big relays. I love when relays click when I flip a switch. It's so fucking hot. It has an off function for no reason. I thought the reason there was an off selector for the speakers was because when you plug the headphones in, the speakers would still play. Not true. When you put the headphones in, the speakers stop. Everything stops. So why even... What's the use of this unit if you have this set to off? And the last setting is A. It's A, B, and A plus B by wiring. And it says by wiring. I'm just going to wear out this entire Yoshi Horikawa album because reviews. A plus B by wiring because since there's only one power transformer, it's not really bi-amping. Bi-amp speakers are speakers that have this driver and this driver on two separate leads, so you could power this with fancy, crazy, fucking crystalline tube amps, and this with like a solid-state amp that's got 4,000 watts. And by wiring, like A and B mixed, doesn't do anything, so fucking don't do it. Do not buy wire or anything. You can buy amp, by all means. By all means. Oh! You can buy amp, do not buy wire. And since this specifically says buy wiring, don't bother. You can only have one amp. You can only give it all the power all the time anyway. So there's no benefit. Also, read the instruction manual on this, because switching to A plus B, if you want to run two pairs of speakers, which I was considering for this demo, like literally pulling down something else, the Q100s or something, putting them on top, and then you can go A speaker, B speaker, A speaker, B speaker. But as soon as you go to A plus B, it's like 16 ohm speakers only. It's very, very strict. You don't want to do 4 speakers through this amp. You could do A and B, which would be really good for like when I'm doing reviews, but I just have a million amps lying around, so I don't need it. What was I bitching about? Pure Direct disables this. All right, let's talk about the loudness thing before I talk about how it performs with headphones, because there's an issue with amplification versus the 44 watts in the Onkyo and the way this sounds. This sounds like I expected the Onkyo to sound, and the Onkyo sounded fucking tremendous, and this sounds like a 100 watt per channel surround receiver that I'm just using on my desk. It's missing the sparkle, and I don't know if that's just because I'm not using the Kefs, because the Kefs are amazing, but also when I plug headphones into it, while it is powerful enough to run almost all the headphones I've got here, well, it's powerful enough to run all the headphones, it's also missing the magic that the amplification had in the Onkyo. That said, can I please bitch about this loudness knob? So if you don't know what loudness is usually, loudness or midnight mode is what they usually call it on receivers. And there are idiots who think they put that on and it's like, oh man, it's just supposed to be louder. No. Let me explain what loudness is supposed to do. It's supposed to be a button, usually just a button. And what it does is when you have to play things quiet, because it's late at night, and you don't be quiet, late at night, you put on loudness and it brings the treble and the bass up just a bit. It V-shapes it. So that when you're watching a movie, if everything's down real low, you still get a little bit of bass. And the treble is a little bit sharper. So it brings down the volume, but keeps like the sparkly magic stuff that makes music. Makes it like, ooh, it sounds loud still, without being loud. So this is a knob. And the weirdest shit ever is it starts vertically at maximum, and it says flat. And the only way you can go with this knob is down, and it goes from flat to negative 30 decibels. And I've never experienced the weirdest, this sort of weird shit before. So we've got our music playing, right? I'm gonna turn the loudness knob down all the way. Put it back up. It's like, I'll give you the real quick and dirty. It's like this is a specific volume knob for mid-range and treble. Because you take it down to negative 30, that's without the subwoofer. There's still low end there, but there's no like, you have to turn it up. You have to keep turning it up. You gotta keep turning up, then you gotta turn this down, and you could sort of like, So basically, loudness is a volume knob that only lowers the mid-range and treble. And it should just be the mid-range, or it shouldn't go to negative 30. That's fucking dumb. If negative 15 at the most, which would be like there. Loudness is supposed to go up. Now I understand why they were going down and not up, because you don't want to amplify, re-amplify, amplify. But the fact that it's that I could be like here, and it gets this quiet with that knob. I don't. Chewbacca, do you want to like help me out on this? It's weird. That's a weird thing. Usually just hit a loudness button and it does a little bit of a tweak and you're done. You could then lower the volume down and it's fine. This, you turn this on and you have to start raising the volume. Boltar's Dream, Massive Attack. Oh, and the best part, all these knobs work on headphones. So I really want to know what that loudness knob does. I could whip out these Sivgas. Sivga sounds like a fucking disease, but they sound really good. So let's give myself some Sivga. Oh, they are really good. And then it's like, I can hear that the bass doesn't go anywhere. Everything under 50 hertz is just there still. 60 hertz maybe? It's just like this. It's like, it's, as I'm turning that knob with headphones on, and I've obviously done this before the review, it sounds like you're in a room with speakers and they're playing just fucking, they're playing just fine. And then you start turning that knob and it's like you're running away. It's like, how do they sound now? They sound there, and then this is where negative 30 sits. Like, it's just low end, bellowing out, and no mid-range or treble is to be heard. And then you turn the knob back to flat, and So I don't get it. I don't get that loudness. So I don't get the off feature. I don't get the loudness. I don't get the mute either. So that's 3 things. Let's look at the back, because I think you people deserve to look at the back. Oh, you know what bothers me the most before I move on? This screw. Just, can I say that? Can I say? There's no blue LEDs. Yay. There's no shiny plastic, although pretty sure that's plastic, but it's not shiny. It's machined. That screw just being, I don't know, something about that screw just bothers the hell out of me. Let me pull out my Dayton brick and call that the brick. Am I gonna crush anything when I flip this on its face? So what do we have back here? Power cord attached. Of course it is. They want you to spend hundreds of dollars to get an unattached cord. What are you, fucking crazy? They can't afford that. They're Yamaha. They barely make any money on anything. You got a high and low impedance switch back here, which is an impedance selector, and basically high mode is A or B, 6 ohms per speaker, which I think is what these are. So it's on high impedance mode. You switch it to low, and you get A or B is 4 ohm per speaker, and A plus B is 8 ohm. So, no, I don't need it on that. I'm leaving it on high impedance mode. Here's your sets of 5-way binding posts. We're in A, B is sitting down there. Here's our subwoofer output, standard RCA. You get a DC out 5-volt USB terminal. And let me tell you, that is a useful thing on modern equipment. Everyone's like, Zeos, it doesn't have a Bluetooth. Why don't you get this other model that's $170 more that has Bluetooth? You know why? Here's why. Because MPAL makes this. It costs $20. It comes with the wire to hook it up. And since it comes with the fucking USB micro cable, you could just put it right here. You could plug in your wires to any of the 5 empty analogs. You could then use that USB that's sitting there to power it, because that's all it says is DC out. It's just a power plug. And then you could use the Bluetooth on that for 20 bucks. I'm completely fine with that. And here is the array of all the goddamn, here's CD down here, here's tuner up here, labeled as such. And here are your 5 lines. And then there is an in and out, is there? Yeah, there's a record loop on, what are you, number 3? Actually, is there a record loop on both? So 1 has just an input, which is what I'm using. Then 2 and 3 have record loop outs. So they'll just loop out the RCAs. I feel like this amp was designed and built in like the late 90s. It feels like late 90s tech, only without the indicator on the volume knob that everyone should have. I don't like this as much as the Onkyo. The Onkyo was less powerful. It was only 44 watts a channel. But when I sat here with a couple pairs of speakers, it wasn't just those Kefs. I don't think I had, did I have you down yet? I had the K-Bus hooked up, and then I had the Kefs, and it was just like, you turned it up and you knew it was worth the size on your desk. And I don't feel like this is the same thing. It's a good amplifier. It's going to amplify good enough. There's good enough amplifiers, and there's fucking great amplifiers when it comes to speakers. Most things are good enough. I'm sure this Dayton Boom would be good enough. I'm sure this SMSL SA98 would be good enough. But when you want that, like, that's when the PS Audio Sprout comes in, and it just sounds wow. PS Audio Sprout with these speakers, I was wowed. And that's 100 watts per channel also. So, I mean, and this is so much bigger. So isn't bigger better, Zio, since you say that in the Onkyo? It can be. But you still have to do engineering. You can't just cheap out on components, whoever the heck they did. I don't hate this amp. I'm selling this amp, and I'm hoping I get my money back for it, but that will never happen. It's always a loss in the yard sales. But, I mean, let's talk about Phono Input. Now that I've spoiled the ending, yeah, it's 100 watts per channel, but I'd rather have the 44 from the Onkyo. This would still work in a living room just as well. You could just go to a living room and because in a living room, you're going to use a 5.1 receiver anyway, and those never have like the best amplification. Unless you get like a Pioneer Elite, or my brother bought an old school Marantz that was so old the HDMI was like 1.1, and it doesn't even pass through 60 hertz. It's ridiculous. But the amps in that, fucking cojones. This is standard amp. It's heavy, but it's like, I don't know. It's just, there's the power supply. I know how heavy that should be. And there's the little thin radiators, and it doesn't even get really that hot, but I haven't been pushing it. Oh yeah, that's happening, by the way. Because the subwoofer, and because I have that speaker basically directly on the desk with this, even though I had it on the other speakers like that, I can't turn up the phono with the bass on at all. Like, the bass has to be off, or I get massive feedback. Like, that shakes, and then it shakes that, which shakes the needle, which then shakes through this, and shakes that, and shakes the needle, and shakes that. So it's a fucking cycle. You want to know what a cycle looks like? That's what a cycle looks like. I can get it up. Oh, there it goes. It's just there will be a proper vinyl setup in this house. It'll be over there when I'm ready for it. Right now, I'm just, this is a loaner from a fan of the show. He's like, he lives, 40 minutes away. He's like, hey, you want to try this U-turn orbit out? Yeah. I got an extra cartridge too. Yeah. Okay. So I'm like, all right. So I mean, here it is, doing its thing. It just, this setup, this is bad. I know this is bad. I just don't have a proper detached table in another room without wood floors and bolted into the wall. So the way I've been testing the Phono Pre is through headphones, because that seemed the safest way to do it without feeding back into speakers and blowing things up. So I could turn that up. I could do that. I want pure director headphones. Let's move these distracting, smaller, prettier amps out. And maybe not prettier, but certainly smaller and a little bit cheaper. It's hard to judge. It's hard to judge the preamp in this. I mean, I could hook up one of the Emotiva preamps to the Ship Manny, or I even have that little bear with tubes. I could hook one of those up and give it a whirl into the line in. It's just, let me see if this is persistent. Hold on. There's a bit of a buzz. I don't know if it's like a, I think that's Phono Pre. I mean, I have it up a lot. Let me see. If I put this to an empty analog, I'm going to turn that up. Hold on. Whoa, hold on a second. Wow. Okay, so you want to know, quality of this amp is good as far as everyone's concerned except for me. Because I'm on a tuner, which is not plugged in, or I'm on CD, which is not plugged in. And if I go to tuner and turn the volume all the way up, Billy Joel is playing from my computer. So the analog input from Billy Joel is leaking into mostly the left channel. If I switch to CD, now Billy Joel is far right, and there's birds chirping from the vinyl. So these unused inputs, the digital input's not going to have anything happening. But CD and tuner are leaking other analog inputs into this, and I could hear it. And that's just that's bad separation of signal sources. As the first time I plugged this in and turned it up, you could probably hear it on the speakers. If I do this. You can definitely hear there's music. As Cliff Martinez is playing. I play something fucking loud. Something loud. And you hear that? We're on an empty input. Tuner should not have anything on. If I go to CD, you could hear the vinyl leaking through it. So people who were like, the Yamaha, it's got some issues. Maybe the higher end ones don't have these issues. It's not a power game at this level. That's why I love the fact that Onkyo is like 44. How many watts? 44. Done. $300 and something. Like, Jesus, that's expensive for such a little power. The quality of the unit was better. I'm gonna switch this down. Back to phono. There's my subwoofer, by the way. Just subwoofer. So one of the nice things about having AB is that the subwoofer out works on A plus B, B. It just shuts off with off. So you can hear just the subwoofer, and it's good for locating rattles. Another thing you could do with the B channel output is if you have a subwoofer like the I believe the Bic F12 had him, where it's just the 4 speaker level ins, you could run a pair out to speakers and then another 4 speaker wires down to the sub instead of the other one, and that way you could switch. Like, I can literally turn the sub on and off because I have that foot pedal, because it's a fucking Mackie. If you wanted to run speakers and a sub and then occasionally shut them off, you would do A channel speakers, B channel sub, A plus B you'd have it with a sub. So you'd never run just a sub on its own like this currently is doing. I'm on phono. Phono done? Phono's done. Again, phono's done. So yeah, it's just got, every little part of it is just annoying the shit out of me. Jizzy was a stimulator. Jimmy was a stimulator. So there's my Onkyo take. It's some people will call this as pretty as the Onkyo. I really love the center volume knob. The fact that this is, by the way, this was plastic, by the way. This is just shitty plastic. You could take it off and you could put another knob on there that's a standard thing. Go find someone to machine you a knob out of wood. It's just that you have to do something to indicate it, or you can't. Here, I'll peel it off since it's the end of the review. There. Tell me where the volume is. You can't even see the goddamn thing moving. Here. Is it turning? It is turning. I can tell you it's turning. You just can't fucking see it. Bothers the hell out of me. Bothers the hell out of me. Give me a proper indication on the knobs that need indication. So here we'll... There's the default. There's the default look of this. Very clean, very black. Vertical knobs that if you turn them a little bit, shit looks broken and janky. It's gonna get a pass, but I'm gonna say why bother? It's not end of the world. There's nothing on this that breaks my soul. That leak was only coming through at maximum gain. It's just got strange things, and it doesn't sound as good. It just doesn't sound as good as the Onkyo. The weaker Onkyo sounded better. The PS Audio Sprout, for double the money, should sound better, and it did. It also had Bluetooth. But I mean, again, I said you don't need Bluetooth because you've got one of these. Boom. Look at that. Perfect. Hit the button. Bluetooth happens. So yeah. Onkyo gets a pass. Onkyo gets better than a pass. Works on a desk. The Yamaha here, don't put on your desk. Headphone output, while powerful, it just feels like there's a million resistors in line. It's fucking up the impedance load of everything. So it's time to lose money on this Patreon purchase. But at least you guys know the difference now. So I'm going to box this back up, and you'll see it in the yard sale, and you could offer me $8 for it. Please offer me more than $8. Shipping is not cheap. Anyway, wallpaper. See, there it is. Is bigger better? Is bigger, more 100 watts that's what I went for with that wallpaper. I went for like, I think about these things. Like, go with a busty wallpaper because it's more. And sometimes more is better, and sometimes more is distracting you from the fact that she probably has a penis. But get that wallpaper in the description. Links to this. I'll link to the Onkyo in the description. I'll link to the PS Audio Sprout in the description. I'll link to this Bluetooth receiver in the description. I might even link to some headphones if I feel like it. Oh! Next track. Hold on. The last thing. I didn't talk about the FLIRC. So, because I did this in the Onkyo. The remote was, I was bitching about the remote. I don't know if I like this shape. It's very sharp and cheap feeling. But, see all these buttons? There are 16 buttons here that do not function. Everything here. Well, this is all tuner controls. This is all CD controls. The mute and volume work. The amp and pure direct work. These are open and close and CD power. So I need less fingers. There. That's what works in this remote. So it's better than the Onkyo. But still, if you want to use these for something, like I currently have them set for like page up and enter and the next track. So if you want to use the remote, doesn't have, mute. Get a FLIRC. It's that little USB dongle. Okay, now the video is officially over. I almost forgot to pimp the FLIRC. God, give me 100 FLIRCs versus this, because I mean they'd be more useful. But there you go. I'm mildly. I wanted it to be at least on a fighting chance, and if the sound quality was bizarrely good and more powerful, and it just had some quirks, it would have been like equal. But it's just losing to the Onkyo. It's just gonna lose. So you want to fight me? Bring it to the comments. But really, don't start shit there. I'll just ban you.